User experience design is critically important in publicly used cloud solutions. Of course, if the experience is poor, the solution is going to bomb. Excellent user experience and success go hand in hand. Let's look at one expert in user experience design, a company called Adaptive Path. So why Adaptive Path, you might ask, above all of the other companies that are involved in user experience design? Well, I chose them because they have put together some key elements of user experience design, and one of the principals at the firm, Jesse James Garrett, wrote a book called The Elements of User Experience. Now, from that book and some of the key element details, I've put together a handout with some very useful links. So let's take a look at that next. So we have the 5 planes, our key user experience elements, and we typically work from bottom to top, starting with our strategy and ending with our surface plane. Now we can have all 5 of these planes active in development at the same time, and it's key that we have alignment, that everything fits together from plane to plane, and we want to make sure that we finalize the bottom planes before we finalize the upper planes. So those are the key concepts from here. Now let's take a look at our case study. This case study is between Twitter and Adaptive Path, and we'll start by taking a look at Adaptive Path's summary of the work that was completed with Twitter. Okay, so Twitter and Adaptive Path are working together, and they identified what they thought was the real core of the problem, which we saw on the web page, in that 60% of first-time users of Twitter would log in once and then never come back. And a couple of things came out of the analysis and the rework of Twitter in conjunction with Adaptive Path. The first thing was that they rethought the flow to provide a better introduction to Twitter when people initially signed on. And the results were that 29% of increase in the users that were actually completing the process and staying with using Twitter. Now, it was counterintuitive in that they actually increased the length of the sign-in process in achieving that result. So they went from, I think it was 3 screens to 4 screens to do the sign-in process. And then to help users understand the relevant long-term value of using Twitter, they organized the categories to help the users to identify what types of information they were interested in following. The second thing that was done was the initial question that would come up once a user signed up was, "What are you doing?" And they changed that question to "What's happening?" And the reason that they did that is to help people share things of value that are happening in their lives. Now, the video link that's provided on the handout is a presentation by Mark Trammell and Jesse James Garrett at the UX Week in 2011. And in that video, they kind of summarize a couple of key things that I'd like to share to wrap up this presentation. At Camel, the co-founder of Pixar had a quote that they included related to success hides problems. And Mark was explaining that Twitter struggled with this because the numbers were going up. So even though they had a high percentage of people abandoning after the login process, they were still overall successful. They thought they had one problem and that people weren't getting Twitter. And it turns out that it was a set or a number of problems, small shifts in perception and the experience over time. And so they wrapped up their video presentation at the UX Week presentation, stressing that great user experience work is not necessarily just about the project and you're finished, but especially with cloud solutions, it's an ongoing engagement and monitoring of behavior as it unfolds and capturing data that's going to help you understand and respond to that. Thank you for listening, and we'll end with a link, email link, if you would like to get the handout emailed to you. Thanks.